Everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Dear author and invited guests, welcome to a technical session 8D. Myself, Richa, and this session would be moderated by me. On the behalf of the Global Knowledge Research Foundation and the GR Solistic LLP, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the 4th World Conference on Information System for Business Management, ISBM 2025, Bangkok, Thailand. The fourth edition of this conference is being organized in a hybrid mode. The physical event was held in Bangkok, Thailand on 24th September, while the virtual event is being conducted by Zoom on 25th and 26th September. I hope you will enjoy the knowledgeful and interactive session through the day. In the session, we have 10 presentation. Each presentation given 10 minutes for presentation and 2 minutes for question answer. On 9 minutes, I will raise a gentle reminder. There is another request to all the participants. You will all stay connected with us till the closing remark. If you have uh, if you have any query and any update, write it to me in a chat box. Just before we get started, I would like to introduce to our chair of this session, Dr. Sachin Gupta. Dr. Sachin Gupta is the Dean Research and Innovation and a Professor of Computer Science and Engineering at Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Technology, Delhi. With over 24 years of teaching and administrative experience, he is also associate with metAI.com and a leading edtech platform as an AI product consultant. His research interests include wireless sensor networks, NoSQL, blockchain, and network security. Welcome to you, sir. And in this session, we have another session here. And we have one more session here. Pradnya Desai is a senior technical architect at the Salesforce United States with over 22 years of experience in application development and more than 8 years in the Salesforce ecosystem. She specializes in the analysis, design, and the development of cross-cloud solution using Salesforce platforms such as Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and Experience Cloud. Her expertise include REST services, middleware, application, OSB, SOA, and related technologies.
Hello
Well,
all.
welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And now we start with papers. I would like to call our first presenter is Harshil Shah to present his paper on an intelligent framework for non-parametric test prediction and execution using machine learning.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll just present my screen. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm Harshil Shah, one of the authors of the work. Today, I want to take you on a journey of how we built an intelligent framework that can automatically select and execute non-parametric statistical tests using machine learning. Now, if you have ever struggled with statistics, you'll agree the hardest part is often not doing the math, but knowing which test you're even applying. That was our starting point. Here is a table of contents of our presentation. We will begin with abstract, which gives an overview of our work, followed by the introduction that sets the context for the problem. Next, we'll review the existing literature before moving on to our proposed methodology. After that, we'll explain the implementation details and present the results and discussion. Finally, we will conclude with key findings and future scope, and then list the references that supported our research. In statistics, non-parametric tests are incredibly powerful because they don't assume normal distribution or equal variance. They are widely applied in fields like psychology, medicine, finance, and social sciences, essentially anywhere data is messy or irregular. But despite their usefulness, two key challenges remain: choosing the right test, whether it's Run's test, Wilcoxon test, or Mann-Whitney U test. Many non-experts struggle with selection. Executing and interpreting the results is the second problem. Even after selecting the right test, working through the ranks, Z scores, and test statistics can be complex and time consuming. This led us to an important question. Why can't this process be automated? Why can't a system read a problem statement, figure out a right non-parametric test, perform the necessary calculations, and then present the results in plain, understandable language. That's the core motivation behind our framework to simplify hypothesis testing by making it accessible, interpretable, and efficient for both experts and non experts alike. When we reviewed our existing literature, we found out two important points. Non-parametric tests are widely recognized as robust alternatives when parametric assumptions fail. However, tools like SPSS or R still expect the user to know which test to apply, making them less accessible to non-experts. Looking at the specific works, the Mann-Whitney U test is robust against non-normal data, but it requires the correct identification of the independent groups, which can be confusing for users. The Wilcoxon sign rank test is excellent for paired or before and after data, but again assumes the user already knows when it applies. The runs test helps detect randomness in sequences, but is rarely applied because its usage is not well understood. Other approaches attempted automation. Some machine learning models like KNN or decision trees were applied to automate test selection, but they mainly focus on general ML tasks rather than hypothesis testing. Bayesian non-parametric models are flexible and handle uncertainty well, but they are computationally expensive and not practical for quick decision making. Automated systems such as ANSA improve reproducibility, yet they lack adaptability to varied input formats and real world research problems. From this review, the main research gaps became clear: a lack of accessible tools for non experts, limited interpretability in existing automated methods, making results hard to trust, poor adaptability to diverse types of questions and input structures. Our model bridges these gaps by providing a system that is accessible, interpretable, and scalable while maintaining high accuracy in predicting and executing non-parametric tests. Our approach was structured in five stages. The dataset development. We curated 76 real-world hypothesis testing questions from the textbooks, repositories, and case studies. This included about 25 problems for each of Mann Whitney, Wilcoxon, and Run's test. Since the raw questions came in different formats, we manually processed and standardized them to ensure consistency. This formatting step was crucial as it allowed our code to correctly extract key features such as group size, pairing, and sequence patterns for further analysis. Feature engineering. This was crucial. We extracted structural and semantic features from questions. For example, if the question mentions two independent groups, that's a signal for man-Whitney test. If it says before and after, paired, or matched, that suggests Wilcoxon. And if talks about sequence of X and Y or random patterns, that points to Run's test. Model training. We trained multiple models, logistic regression, random forest, SVM, and decision trees after extensive testing with five-fold cross-validation. Decision trees emerged as the best, about 93% accuracy, and more importantly, interpretability. Decision trees create human understandable tools, which is important when automating statistical decisions. Prediction and execution. Once the model predicts the correct test, the system automatically computes all required statistics, U, W, Z, P values, depending on the test type. The final output. The system doesn't just say reject null or fail to reject. It walks through the intermediate values and then gives a conclusion. So even students can learn from this from this by step-by-step explanation. Now, let me walk you through the implementation of a system. The process begins when a user inputs a statistical question. This question is then pre-processed to extract important features like the group size, whether the data is paired, and if there are any sequence patterns. After pre-processing, our trained decision tree model predicts the most suitable non-parametric test. For example, the Mann-Whitney test, the Wilcoxon sign rank test, and the runs test. Once the right test is identified, the system automatically executes it. It computes all the necessary values, such as the U, W, Z, and P values, and then applies the appropriate decision rules. To give you a practical example, in a clinical trial data set with before and after pain ratings, the system correctly identified it as the Wilcoxon sign rank test. Not only that, but it also generated the complete step-by-step solution along with a clear interpretation of the results. So essentially, the implementation ensures that users don't just get the right test, but also the transparent explanation of the outcome. Our decision tree classifier achieved 93% accuracy overall. We also compared other models, random forest, SVM, but decision tree was chosen because of its rule-based structure and it's easier to explain and trust. Let's look at some case studies from the dataset to see how the system performed in practice. One example was a sequence of 20 patients' arrival at a clinic labeled by gender, male or female. The question was to test whether the sequence was random. System identified this as runs test problem, counted the number of males, females, and runs, and compared the observed runs with critical values at alpha is equal to 0.0. The result showed that the runs fell within the acceptable range, meaning we could not reject the null hypothesis of randomness. This example shows the system doesn't just say it's runs test, it actually performs the calculation, applies decision rules, and presents it as interpretable conclusion. In another case, we had two independent groups with 8 observations each. The question asked whether the two groups had significant different distributions. Our framework correctly identified it as a Mann-Whitney U-test, ranked all the 16 values compared, computed U1 and U2, selected the smaller one, U, which is equal to 26.5, and checked it against the critical table. The p-value was about 0.2869, which was greater than 0.05. So the null hypothesis was not rejected, meaning there was no statistical significant difference between the groups. Again, the system didn't just give the decision, but showed intermediate steps like ranks and U values, which are educational and useful for interpretation. Finally, in a clinical trial, patients rated their pain before and after medication. This is a classic Wilcoxon sign rank test scenario because we are comparing paired data. The system detected before and after in the problem statement, predicted Wilcoxon, ranked the absolute differences, and compared the T plus and T minus. The smaller value T, which is equal to 7, was compared with a critical value of 6 at n equals to 8. Since 7 was greater than 6, the null hypothesis was rejected. This meant that based on the data, the medication didn't show a statistical significant effect. Interestingly, even though some patients improved, the overall result wasn't strong enough. This case highlights how the framework not only automates the test, but it also helps catch suitable misinterpretations if we are doing manually. So overall, the results validate our idea. A machine learning model can successfully predict the correct non-parametric test, execute it fully, and present the outcome in a way that is both accurate and interpretable. This makes hypothesis testing faster, reduces error, and lowers the barrier for people who aren't trained statisticians. So what did we achieve? We built a framework that automates the selection and execution of non-parametric tests. It reduces manual efforts, avoids common mistakes, and makes testing accessible to non-experts. It also acts as an educational tool, showing clear steps for each test. For the future, we aim to add more tests like Kruskal Wallace and Friedman, improving handling of natural language questions, and scale the system for larger, more diverse datasets. In short, our work is a step towards making statistical testing smarter, more accessible, and less intimidating. On behalf of my co-authors, I would want to thank you all for the attention. I'd be happy to take the questions.
Hi, Harshit. Excellent presentation there.
Thank you, sir.
What was your training data set for your ML models?
So the data set was taken from all over the textbooks and everywhere, and then we had made it into a format which would be accepted by the code. So I can just show you the data set if, like this. Uh,
I just need to understand whether it was a text-based problem with NLP or it was some structured data set.
So it is both. So basically, when we put the question, the decision tree classifier will classify it as which test it is, and then when we go further, we have to put in the values automatically. Like it will detect the values from the tables that are being in the Excel sheet that are in the Excel sheet. So we have structured the data in the Excel sheet itself. So
Okay.
Nice presentation. I don't have any question.
yeah, here is a data set. So this is how we had formatted the data set completely. But when we put a question, it can automatically detect, like in the wording format. But for detection with the numbers, we had to put it in these table formats, which it would detect, like it would take directly.
Okay, this is good. Does it work with larger data sets also?
Yes, absolutely
I
it
mean, your
does.
data may be very.
Yes. Even if it's more than 15, then it works. Like we know that its Z score and t-test are different for both the cases. That time it works still.
Absolutely good. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, presenter, for your presentation. And moving ahead to call our next presenter. To present is a paper on enabling SMEs participation in. Okay, the paper presenter is Vandana to present her paper on attaining sustainability in curricular economy, a bibliometric analysis.
Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here at ISBM Conference 2025 in Bangkok through virtual session. My name is Vellur Vandana and I'm presenting this paper on behalf of my co-authors Sharvani Kochellakota, Pujita Panchakarla and Bhuji Halka. We represent the Amrita School of Business, Amravati, Andhra Pradesh in India. So our title is Attaining Sustainability in Circular Economy, a bibliometric analysis. So in this paper, I will walk you through the motivation behind our study, the methodology we followed, the key findings we arrived at, the conclusion. So we'll go next slide. So index, to give you a quick overview, my presentation will be structured as follows: introduction, methodology, data analysis, network visualization, conclusion, and future work and reference. Next slide is introduction. So introduction, like it's a circular economy is a process that renew the materials and services through the maintenance and reuse the manufacturing and recycling. So it helps to eliminate the waste by preserving the product's value for a long time. So circular economy is crucial for all sectors to achieve sustainability. It contributes to the sustainable development goals, which is especially SDG 8 and 12 and 13. So SDG 8 represents the decent work and economic growth, and SDG 12 responsible consumption and production. SDG 13 is climate action. So now, what makes the circular economy even more powerful today is the role of digital technology. Tools like AI, blockchain, big data are transferring the way we design, track, and optimize the circular system. These innovations are being helping us move steadily from linear economy to truly circular economy. So next we'll move to next slide, which is methodology. So to make sure our study was systematic and we followed the is like a checklist to ensure transparency in how we collect and filter the research paper. So we also use the Prisma of flow diagram to visually show the each step. So how many studies we started with, how many we excluded, and how many we finally included. So for tools, we use it art software and VOS viewer for bibliometrics and network analysis. So all our data comes from Scopus database, so known for its wide coverage of peer-reviewed literature. So here, how we filter the data step by step. These are four stages in identification. First stage, identification. We started with the 14,708 documents after removing 2,316 outside our time frame. So we had now 12,392. So in second stage screening, which we excluded the 9,346 papers from unrelated fields, leaving 3,045 papers. So here, the third stage, eligibility. So we applied the language filter, removing 71 non-English papers, leaving 2,974 and 4 states included. So finally, we have 2,974 documents framed our core data set. So from over 14,000 papers, we narrowed it down to a refined set of 2,974 highly relevant studies. So the systematic process made our findings transparent, replicable, and academically rigorous. So next we'll move to data analysis. So our study was 5-year period from 2021 to 2025. Our study, we analyzed 2,974 documents published in 808 journals and found a steady annual growth rate of 7.37, showing the rising interest in circular economy and sustainability. In terms of authorship pattern, so 8,181 authors contributed overall. Only 266 papers were single authored, while most were collaboration. So each paper had about 3.5 co-authors and over 35% involved international collaboration, highlighting strong global partnership. So we found 8,717 database generated keywords and 6,212 author provided keywords, showing the diversity of teams being studied. So for document types, like the major way researched articles 1,824, followed by book chapter 556. Authors included 121 books, 771 conference papers, 11 conference reviews, and 291 miscellaneous documents. So our citations for each paper had average of 18.5 citations. Since the average age of papers is only 1.7 years, this shows the field is still young but already impactful. So we'll see the publication trend. So here we have the graph 2. Looking at the trend year by year, we see a clear rise in publication. In 2021, 404 articles averaging 12 citations each. In 2022, 464 articles with 8 citations per article. In 2023, 579 articles with 6 citations per article. In 2024, a sharp surge to 990 articles, but only 2 citations per article. In 2025, which is so far, 537 articles with about 1 citation each. If we look at the chart, the blue bar represents the article count consistently rising, and the red line shows average citation steadily falling. So this pattern tells us that while research output is expanding rapidly, citation lag behind because newer paper need time to cite it. We'll move to next slide. So now let's look the table 2, which highlights the top 10 journals publishing research on circular economy and sustainability. The table shows 5 columns, which is sources, publishers, TP, which is total publication, TC, which is total citation, TC by TP, average citations per articles, which reflect the impact. So here are some highlights. The Journal of Cleaner Production leads, which 513 articles and 17,096 citations, average which is 37.2 citations per paper. So it's clearly a cornerstone. So resources, conversation and recycling has 213 papers, but with 8,366 citations and an average of 39.3 citations per article. It shows a strong influence. The business strategy and environment also stand out with 174 papers and 38.3 citations per paper, linking business strategy with sustainability. And technology, some interesting points like technological forecasting and social change. Published only 38 papers, but each average 57.7 citations, showing quality over quantity. So by contrast, proceeding in business and economic publishes multiple papers out, but a very low impact, averaging just 0.4 citations per paper. We'll move to next slide, which is 10 most globally cited documents. So the table shows 4 key columns: author, who wrote the paper, source, the journal included top journal sites, resources, conversation and recycling, technological, forecasting and social change. So journal of clearer production and business strategy and the environment. DOI, a direct online link to the document. Total citations, how many times the paper has been cited. So key insights are citations range from 334 to 624, showing a different level of influence. For example, IBM Mohammed T. ETI 2021, it's the most cited with 624 citations, shaping the field significantly. On the lower end, Khan SA ETI 2021 has 334 citations, still a strong impact. So the paper are recent from 2021 to 2023, showing that even new research can gain recognition quickly. So we'll see next slide, which is contributing the authors, which is top author citations versus publications. So next, let's look at the author's contribution divided into the two perspectives, based on citations and based on publication. Based on citations, ranking authors by the total number of citations. Based on publications, ranking authors by the number of papers published. In citation, top authors by total citations are Kumar V. and Bank and Kichirji. The average citations per paper, which is shows impact. For example, Kumar M has the highest average at 108.3 citations with only 6 papers, showing a few high impact works can make a big difference. So publications.
Sorry to interrupt,
Neeraj,
dear presenter. You have last 1 minute. Please conclude your presentation.
our study provides a comprehensive overview of research trends in circular economy and sustainability over the period 2021 to 2025. Sourcing English language documents from the Scopus database. Insights of Journal of Cleaner Production emerged as the most relevant source with 513 documents, over 19,000 citations, making it a cornerstone in this research area. The most cited document is by Mohammed T. In Resources Conversation and Recycling with 624 citations, reflecting its strong influence on the field. Among the authors, Kumar A, Kumar V, Kumar M, Saicher, and Singh RK are the most productive and influential, excelling in both number of publications and citations. On a global scale, the United Kingdom shows the strongest collaboration links as revealed by our network visualization, followed by Italy and India. So future work is broaden data collection beyond the Scopus data to include other academic database like Website of Science or Google Scholar. Include the documents published in language other than the English to overcome the limited generation. Focus on analyzing which specific digital technology such as big data, blockchain, AI are most effectively enhancing the circular economy. And also conduct a qualitative review like systematic literature review to explore the emerging topics and trends in greater detail. So these are the references. Thank you.
Thank you for the nice presentation. I have no questions here.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I just have one question. Basically, for the circular economy, how this research is going to help us? The research, whatever we have done, like screening through the documents, finding out the right authors, what do you suggest from this research? How it will be helpful or impactful on the circular economy?
Ma'am, basically, circular economy is reuse the products which is used by one person or others, so which help us to achieve the goals of SDG.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. Thank
Yeah,
you.
ma'am. Yeah, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, presenter, for your presentation. And moving ahead to call our next presenter to present his paper on enabling SMEs participation in cybersecurity information sharing, a human-centric socio-technical model.
Good morning.
Ma'am, 1 second. Sorry for interrupting. I didn't get the certification which is in virtual
You will receive all the certificate after the conference within 2 to 3 working days.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Can I proceed?
Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Yes, I have this paper that I'm presenting, co-authored by Dr. Mabanza and Dr. Mwansa. The presentation plan was just to go through an introduction, research objective, literature review, theoretical framework, research methodology, quantitative findings, qualitative findings, integration of findings, and then utilizing the theoretical framework, the social cognitive theory, constructs across the findings, and then presenting the artifact, the social technical protocol for SMEs, and then the practical implementations thereof, and then a conclusion. So to begin, SMEs face an increasing cyber threat. If you can look at the graphic image, it just shows that in the first quarter of this year, just the number or size of how many online threats were experienced by these countries, especially in the developing world. And we can see that the impact of cyber crime results in time loss, financial loss, and job losses. And this is detrimental to the key reason why SMEs are established, is because of the fact that they are there to grow an economy. And one of the methods that can be used to improve the resilience of SMEs is for them to participate in something called the cybersecurity information sharing. And what that is where you share threat intelligence across a community of related industries or companies so that they can be more prepared. But unfortunately, CIS has a low adoption rate. With CIS, the benefits of it is that we've got human, organizational, and cultural factors that influence the CIS behavior. So the objectives of this study is to identify the key human-centric enablers and barriers to CIS. That was conducted through a literature review, and then to develop a socio-technical model using the social cognitive theory, and that was done through the empirical process of collecting quantitative and qualitative data and then synthesizing that with the outcomes of the literature review. And the outcome of this study is that the contribution of this study is to develop this protocol for trust and resilience in SME cybersecurity. So from the literature review, we identified or discovered that the majority of literature is on there's a technical leaned element towards most of the studies that dominate the CIS, and there's very little on human-centric approaches. So human factors are underexplored on cybersecurity or cyber resilience in CIS. So the other critical areas that were also identified in terms of the human factors is to do with trust, leadership, communication, and cultural context, which are critical for CIS participation. So SMEs benefit from a tailored CIS framework, and unfortunately, the existing frameworks that are there are not SME related, or they are more inclined to solve large organizations' cybersecurity needs. So the theoretical framework that we had adopted for the study was a social cognitive theory, and the constructs of this theory include your intention, self-efficacy, outcome expectations, and social persuasion. So these factors or these elements are important for any organization to consider when trying to adopt a human-centric solution to a emerging problem. So one of the critical areas that SSCT provides is that it provides this thing called reciprocal determination. And that is where we have got the interfaces or interplay between behavior, cognition, and the environment. And this is coming from Bandura's research. And that is where this particular study is based on. So the methodology for the study is that we followed an explanatory sequential design. As you can see from the graphic, it had a serial phase, a set of phases, where the first was just for us to identify a literature-informed protocol based on the existing literature. And then that led us to the quantitative phase, where we collected data from SMEs and then analyzed that quantitative data. We then use that data to then inform the process of qualitative. We conducted a qualitative data collection process, and then we analyzed this qualitative outcomes. And based upon the literature-informed protocol that was developed, the outcomes of the quantitative data analyzed and the qualitative data analyzed, we then developed our protocol. So when we look at the emphasis, the quantitative patterns contextualized with the qualitative insights are the ones that allowed us to produce our artifact. So from the quantitative study or part of the study, we made use of the hierarchical cluster analysis, resulting in 3 SME profiles that were prominent. We've got advocates, moderate actors, and engaged sharers. So the advocates have got a high intention and low activity. The moderate actors, we have got a cluster 2, which is compliance driven. And then engaged sharers, they have got high engagement and they're active sharing. So we can see that there are 3 distinct groupings of SMEs. And how do we then ensure that the protocol that we develop tries to speak to each one of them and improve their cybersecurity resilience? So from the qualitative angle, trust, mutual benefit, organizational readiness is what we found as prominent. The barriers towards the adoption of CIS is that there was a fear of reputational risk, lack of protocol, and a low confidence amongst the SMEs to share this threat information. The motivators is community learning, better risk awareness, and improved communication. So based upon these, we then just pulled all together through a synthesis process to come up with our resulting artifact. So what we found is that human factors are supposed to be more prominent than the technology, because it is the human factor that drive people to actually participate and adopt CIS participation. The social cognitive theory constructs, they explain why high intention is there, why there's high intention in adopting CIS, but it does not directly translate to the high action. Then the constructs that seem to be most prominent is the social persuasion, leadership support. Those are essential for it. And so based upon these quantitative and qualitative outcomes of the collected data, we can then see what are the prominent areas. So the intention to use, we saw that that comes from our cluster number 1 from the quantitative, and then from the qualitative side, this is then we see that there's a strong desire but a weak follow through. Self-efficacy resulted in a moderate correlation. And the qualitative showed us that it is due to the confidence and capacity concerns cited, outcomes, expectations. There was a strong correlation with behavior, and the qualitative responded by with benefits for resilience and risk response, and then social persuasion, where we had active clusters influenced by peer norms, and then the qualitative supported that with a sector-driven motivation and peer alignment. So this is now the resulting protocol. And you can see that the outer ring of this protocol is the social cognitive theory constructs, mastery of experiences, social persuasion, self-efficacy, outcome expectations, reinforcement, and then reinforcement and feedback. So the way the outer ring interfaces with the inner ring is that we have got these 5 domains that were resulting from our study: behavioral domain, social cultural domain, a psychological domain, technological domain, and policy and governance domain. So the mastery of experience, so the experiences that individuals with SMEs have, will then influence their behavior, the behavioral domain. The social persuasion will then influence the social cultural domain, the self-efficacy, the psychological domain, and then the outcome expectations, the technological domain, and the reinforcement feedback is influenced by the policy and governance domain. So that is the construct of our CIS. So it is there to address knowledge behavior gaps, encourage peer-led sharing, foster safe environment and address heuristics, standardize reporting platforms and ensure ease of use, and then clarify reporting responsibilities and align with national legislation. So the practical implementations of our artifact is that it promotes internal awareness. It also drives for CIS champions within SMEs, and it promotes their training thereof. For developers, they must then focus on creating user-friendly platforms that SMEs can quite easily use without having a deep IT knowledge. They must also be able to integrate privacy conscious CIS tools. For policymakers, they must make funding available for SMEs so that they can be able to go through this process of adopting technology, building awareness, and creating change agents. And then there must be clear regulations that support the SMEs, and then they must also support in developing trust frameworks. So, and one of the most important things is that there is an importance of multi-level interventions. Okay, it's not just a one-sided approach, but rather it has got to do with human technology policy. All right, so in conclusion, the future work is that approach is crucial for SME CIS engagement, and the areas of that drive participation is confidence, trust, leadership, and infrastructure. The social technical model reframes CIS as collaborative, crowdsourced effort. So it is now peers, SME peers, who will be sharing threat information within their specific domains. So from this particular study, we envisage future study to deal with where we can test the model across industries, because this particular study was only within the retail sector and across regions, because this was only within South Africa, within the Eastern Cape region of South Africa. Integrate real-time analytics and machine learning for adaptive recommendations, because you could see that there are 3 distinct profiles, and that therefore we want there to be a tailored approach. So I think that is where the advanced analytics comes into play. And then a longitudinal study, because this was just a cross-sectional study. So a longitudinal study will be beneficial to see the true impact of this artifact. And so this brings me to the conclusion of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a great presentation.
Thank you.
Were you surprised by the hierarchical clustering?
Sorry, sir.
I said, did the hierarchical clustering surprise you? I mean, the first group was the least prominent.
Yes, yes. Because we were quite surprised to even find that there was a high engagement amongst SMEs, because our thought was that most SMEs would be challenged because they do not have the budget to have a specialized IT based role or function within their SMEs. But it seemed like um, there was one group that seemed to have found a way to not only engage in CIS, but actively participate with other SMEs.
This is excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ma'am, any question?
No, I'm good. Good presentation. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, presenter, for your presentation. And moving ahead to call our next presenter is Shivani Gupta to present her paper on Energy Sector in India, Studying Environmental Sustainability through BRSR Reporting.
Greetings to the members on the chair. So this is a co-authored paper. I am Shivani Gupta. I represent India. It is co-authored by Dr. Puminder and Kritika Sharan. The title is Energy Sector in India, Studying Environmental Sustainability through BRSR Reporting. So what is important to know here is that the corporate law and policy in India is shifting its content from the shareholder theory to the stakeholder theory. And for this, ESG compliance is taking the center stage. It is important to note here that it is not that ESG was not earlier complied with. However, the policy that India was earlier mentioning was called as the CSR, that is the corporate social responsibility. But now, with the under the aegis of the various provisions of the Companies Act 2013 and SEBI guidelines, SEBI is the Securities and Exchange Board of India. It is a body that frames additional rules and regulations for the better functioning of the companies as far as some corporate compliances are concerned. So with this, the provisions under the Companies Act and the SEBI, the ESG compliance has been made a prominent aspect. And since we understand that ESG is, just a while. Is the PPT working? Yes. So with the help of ESG, we now understand that it is since based upon three aspects, that is environmental, social, and governmental. But for the purposes of the present study, we are only limiting ourselves to the environmental factors. And for this purpose, we are dependent upon a set of companies. And for ESG, the SEBI has related and has asked the companies that are listed in the stock exchange. For the purposes of present study, we are considering the NSE, that is the National Stock Exchange, that the top 1,000 companies are supposed to file their BRSR reports. BRSR is the Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reports. This is the kind of parameter that takes into account that what is required for a company to comply with the ESG parameters. And under the BRSR, Principle 6 is the main principle which deals with all the environmental indicators. Now, for the purposes of present study, the first thing that we had faced is that NSE does not list the companies sector-wise, for which a random sampling was done, and the energy sector was taken into consideration. The purpose why energy sector is taken into consideration is that energy is one of those sectors which is the going to be the one factor which is going to help India be considered as a developed nation by achieving its energy targets of the year 2047, including its sustainability targets. So the initial selection of the energy sector company was done to approximately 9 to 10 companies, but because of various limitations which shall be discussed or elaborated at a further stage, the ultimate analysis or the ultimate study now is only with the 5 prominent companies of the energy sector. That includes a couple of public sector companies and a couple of private sector companies. And the companies namely here that we are going to study is NTPC, NHPC, Power Grid, SJVN, and Tata Power. Further, it is important to note here that the data that is being studied is of 2 financial years, 2022-23 and 2023-24. Now, why only 2 years are being studied here for comparative analysis is because the 1,000 companies which are made necessary by the SEBI to file their BRSR report, that mandate was given by SEBI in the year 2023. Further, now, under this principle, that is principle 6 of BRSR, which we are studying for the environmental aspect, there we have studied various things. And the various aspects that we have studied is the total amount of energy generated, the total amount of energy consumed, the amount of greenhouse gases emitted, the primary source of energy used, the amount of renewable energy consumed, total amount of water consumed, and total amount of waste generated, which is further either recycled or reused. For this, a tabular representation was made for an easy comparison. Now, coming on to the results of the study. So the results are being depicted here before you in the form of graphical representation. The first graph here is the total energy consumed per unit of energy generation in joules. Furthermore, it is hereby claimed that since the different companies have been giving out their energy units in differently, some are giving it in megajoules, some are giving it in joules, some are giving it in gigajoules. So for the convenience of a better graphical representation, a standard unit has been used. Either it is being used in joules or it is being used in gigajoules. So as far as the first graph is concerned, the graph here is going to show the amount of energy consumed for the generation of 1 unit of energy by each of the named companies, to find out which company adopts a better and energy efficient technology for the purpose of energy generation. Wherefore, the amount of energy consumed by NHPC and SJVN is lesser than the amount of energy generated. Thus, we can say that their technology seems to be better. Coming on to the next graph. This graph shows the amount of renewable energy used for the generation of that 1 unit of energy, because it is commonly observed that higher the use of renewable energy used, lesser shall be the amount of greenhouse gas emissions and carbon emissions. Wherefore, the graph represents that power grid uses the maximum amount of renewable energy, that is the maximum percentage of renewable energy, and is increasing this share with the passage of time. Furthermore, NHPC uses the major portion of renewable energy, but it is also important, but it is also important to note here that though it is using a major portion of renewable energy, but at the same time, it is also producing lesser amount of energy. Furthermore, going on to the next graph, this graph tells us the total greenhouse gases emitted in kilograms per unit of energy generation, which in this present graph is taken in gigajoules. So as expected, since NHPC is mainly dependent upon the use of water, here the harmful emissions are negligible. Further, NTPC, Power Grid, and Tata Power, which mainly rely on the use of non-renewable energy, wherefore the amount of greenhouse gas emissions in their case are comparatively high. It is further elaborated that Power Grid, which accounts for their maximum, is the one which accounts for the maximum release. However, it is also important to note here that Power Grid even shows a lesser amount of greenhouse gas emission with the passage of time. So we can probably say that the kind of technology that they are relying upon is becoming more and more efficient in terms of sustainability. Next is, the next graph is represents the total waste generated, again in kilograms, per unit of energy generated, again in gigajoules. So this graph here is important because waste generation and then its disposal is one of the key factors that have a direct impact on the well-being of the environment. Wherefore, even the BRSR reports make it compulsory for the companies to report an amount for the waste generated. As expected, NHPC generates minimum waste as the energy generated here is based upon water. Further, Power Grid and Tata Power are concerned, they release quite higher amounts of waste, but following their policy towards a better tomorrow, both these companies show a downward trend in the following year. Lastly, when a combined analysis is done of graph 4, that is the present graph, and the table, which was made for the purposes of a comparative study, it is depicted that Power Grid has been doing a wonderful job in recycling and using its waste generated. Furthermore, the next graph is telling us about the total water consumed in liters per unit of energy generation, again in gigajoules. It is important to understand here that availability of clean drinking water for all is one of the main sustainable development goals. And consumption of water is an unavoidable part in the energy sector, be it for energy generation or for cooling down processes, etc. This graph seeks to depict the amount of water consumption in liters by each company against the generation of every 1 gigajoule of energy. Sorry. Both NHPC and SJVN are hydroelectric power generation companies. Thus, the amount of water consumption is though high, but since the amount of energy generation ultimately turns out to be higher, and since this water is a renewable source of energy being used, thus in totality, the ultimate water consumptions become very less. However, companies that are dependent upon the use of non-renewable energy uses greater quantities of water. Now comes another very important part. So when these BRSR reports were being studied, there were some inadvertent observations which were made, and the authors would like to point them out. First is that the BRSR reports are not given sector-wise on any regular platform like SEBI, NSE, or BSE, whereby a comparative analysis becomes very difficult. Next is, all the companies in accordance with the requisites of Principle 6 give details of the amount of annual energy consumption. However, none of the companies mention the amount of energy generated. Now, this has been a main lacuna. None of the BRSR reports gives the energy generated. Therefore, the data that has been used for the present study is only based upon the data which was provided by some of the companies in their annual reports. So this is one of the major big reasons why the study, which began with 9 companies, ultimately landed out to 5 companies. Another is, further, companies like Reliance Power did not contain any data on the annual generation of energy, thus ultimately falling out of the scope of the study. Another is, companies like ONGC Limited only mention the amount of wind energy and solar energy generated. That is, they are trying to play good. That is, we are generating renewable energies. We are using generating green energies. Thus, again, limiting the scope of the research for the non-availability of the exact data on the annual generation of energy from all sources. Further, companies have been reporting data in different units. Therefore, the extraction and comparison of data becomes difficult. Therefore, it is very humbly submitted that if possible, then BRSR should lay out the units in which each company must give out the data. Next is, the data reported is sometimes dicey. Now, here is a very appropriate example given to this effect is, when we were studying JSW energy for both the years of 22-23 and 23-24, the data reveals that the amount of waste reused is more than the amount of waste generated. And the authors fail to understand how is it that even possible. Next, but not the least, the reporting of breakup of the total energy consumed from renewable and non-renewable resources is not provided, which is very important to study as to whether the use of renewable energy is going to give us a better amount of energy generated or whether it is a use of non-renewable energy. Thus, this lack of auditing or verification of the non-financial sustainability related data shall be made compulsory within BRSR reporting. Next, concluding to what is expected and what was the actual study. So BRSR framework is made mandatory for more than 1,000 listed companies, yet its enforcement model is still comply or explain. Since BRSR is a responsible system of reporting, the corporation can be made accountable for any of its disclosures if they are found to be fraudulent or untrue, which is one of the main good points. Thus, proper adherence to BRSR reporting format can be used as a tool through which corporations can be guided towards better and fruitful ESG disclosures. Next is, the BRSR data shows the actual picture of the environmental parameters that will decide how good or bad any corporation is doing towards the fulfillment of its duties, towards the observance of its environmental policy principles and targets. And to conclude, a wholesome study of the 3 crucial aspects, including social and governance, will lead to the overall holistic working of every corporate entity, thus paving ways for a more sustainable tomorrow. where the overall well-being of an individual, the state, and the environment would be taken due care of. That is all from the side of the authors, and I'm open for any sort of questions.
Hi,
Yeah,
Dr. Shivani. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so much, sir.
Do you consider IT sector to be one of the sectors which is going to consume most energy in the coming time because of the machine learning and the, I mean, they require a lot of cooling, they require a lot of water, they require a lot of resources for consumption, but they are not producing any.
Definitely, there is no doubt about that, because with the because IT is one of the main things which is in that is becoming the deciding factor of the development of a country. So if IT is going to expand, obviously the use of energy is going to expand. But what is more important over here is that there are certain things, and I suppose IT is one of those, that there the consumption of energy is not something that has to be curtailed untoward, but production of more sustainable energy, that should be the answer. Because if we have an alternative to things, I think production alternatively as more renewable energy, that should be what the country and what we as individuals, as the citizens, must concentrate, rather than, because we can limit certain things as far as consumption is concerned, but not everything. And IT sector is one of those where you cannot, just because you think that you are consuming more, you cannot limit yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great presentation. I have just one question on solar energy, basically green energy generation. So only few of them are
Yes.
declaring part. Do you think BRSR is going to make it mandate to declare about the energy generation rates as well as the green energy generation information?
Exactly, that is what we were trying to point out, that BRSR is, though it has made certain aspects that have to be disclosed, but the companies, because the things are not yet made compulsory as far as a law is concerned. So since the things are actually into operation, the things are not being done like that, because the kind of an amount of energy generated, which we are consider using it for our purposes of study, we have fetched it from their annual reports. And when it comes to their annual reports, none of them is mentioning that what is the bifurcation of the types of energy being used. So one of the things that again came out to the forefront was that when we went to study a company, which is ONGC, ONGC is producing many sorts of energy. But what ONGC is giving out is, it is just showing out that this is the amount of wind energy we are producing, this is the amount of solar we are producing. But it is not a compiled up data. So on the larger front, I suppose it should be it should be made mandatory by BRSR under this compliance, that an energy sector company which is generating energy, or whatever company is using energy, it should make bifurcations, that what is the actual source of energy. Because just stating that this is my renewable energy, we cannot find out what is the kind of energy being used. So
Right.
if we are using it for the purpose of enhancing the amount of solar, I think that will be helpful.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, presenter, for your presentation. And moving ahead to call our next presenter to present his paper on post-ERP performance shift in HRM evidence from FMCG firm in Bangladesh.
Yes. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So, as you can see, that the title of our study is Post-ERP Performance Shift in HRM, Evidence from FMCG Firms in Bangladesh. And myself is Kandaka Tahurul Islam, and I have 4 other co-authors with me, and all of us are from AIUB, American International University, Bangladesh. So I'll try to speak louder. So what I was saying that most of the studies mainly focus on the pre-adoption of the ERP or the implementation challenges, but there are very less amount of studies or research being done on what happens after the adoption. So specifically, we wanted to find out that what are the influences of ERP on the performance outcome in the HR. And if we do not do that, the problem is that without this understanding, the understanding of the post-implementation or post-ERP performance, the HR actually, or the organization actually risks of having inefficiencies in their HR activities, such as in the recruitment, in the talent management, in the compliance even. Also, since they have made a significant amount of investment in implementing the ERP, they have a right to know that where they stand. So that's why we wanted to dive into this study. So we basically tried to address the critical research gap that exists out there. That what is in the fast moving or the FMCG industries. What are the technological, organizational, environmental factors that affect the HR outcomes once the ERP is already in places? So that leads to our research question. The research question that we have is that what are the it emphasizes that the technology, organizational factors, and environmental pressures that shape the ERP outcomes. For the first predictors, we have the competitive environment. So what is it like in the first industries like FMCG organizations adopt now?
Now it's audible. Can you can you speak something?
Yes. All right. So as I was saying, that the fifth hypothesis and the last hypothesis is that the training has a positive influence on post-ERP performance in HRM. Am I audible now?
Now you are audible.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right. So for this study, we used a deductive approach with a questionnaire survey. And the population was the HR managers and the employees from the FMCG firms in Bangladesh who are using the ERP systems actively. And from 640 invited participants, we received 432 valid responses through participant sampling. And the instrument that we use, it had 24 items overall, and we validated it through interviews with 10 HR professionals. And we collected the data through Microsoft Forms, and we analyzed the data with Smart PLS4. Right. All right. So these are the results from the analysis that we achieved. So we firstly evaluate the measurement model. So the table 1, it shows the reliability and validity result. As you can see, the Cronbach's alpha value, all of them are above 0.7, which is the threshold amount, which means that the items that we used, they are internally consistent. And you can see the composite reliability values, they are above the threshold amount as well, 0.7. And it confirms the overall reliability of the items. And for the AV value, we have all the values over 0.5, which indicates the convergent validity, which means that the construct, it explains more than half of the variance in the items. In the table 2, you can see the Fornell-Larker criterion, and the diagonal values that you can see, they are the square roots of the AV, and they are higher than the correlation between the constructs. So it actually confirms the discriminant validity, which means that each construct is empirically distinct and different from each other. And for the table 3, we can see the R-square value, which is, we have a very strong R-square value as well. It shows us that the model that we have used, it explains 61.1% of the variance in the post-ERP performance shift. All right. So the result shows us that 4 out of the 5 hypotheses that we proposed are supported. And among these 4 hypotheses, competitive environment has the strongest effect on post-ERP performance shift. As you can see, the path coefficient of competitive environment is 0.33, which is reporting a very strong number. And apart from the competitive environment, we have perceived compatibility, efficiency, and top management support, which also demonstrate a strong path coefficient ranging between 0.17 to 0.20, 0.19 perhaps. And all of them have a p-values less than 0.05. So together, this findings tells us that the competitive pressure or the market pressures, the system alignment between the departments, the efficiency, the leadership support, top management support, all of them drive the post-ERP performance shift. However, the fifth hypothesis, training, it does not show any significant effect at all. It has a very weak effect with a path coefficient beta value of 0.04. It's very close to the 0, so that the more closer it is to the 0, the weaker it is. And it has also a p-value of more than 0.05, which shows us a non-significant effect. So that suggests that training, there are training programs that exist, but current programs may not be effective enough in enhancing the post-performance power shift in the HR departments in the FMCG sectors of Bangladesh. Right. So this study makes several contributions. First and foremost, it extends the ERP literature by focusing on the post-implementation performance shift in HR rather than just the implementation challenges or the pre-ERP challenges, which most of the current studies are about. It also applies the TOE framework to the FMCG sectors in Bangladesh, and it actually helps to bring about a contextual insights for emerging economy like Bangladesh. Our study also contributes by empirically proving that competitive environment, compatibility, efficiency, and top management support are the key drivers behind the post-performance year shift. Also, it tells us that the trainings, they are the trainings that the kind of trainings that programs that exist, they are not good enough to have a significant effect on the post-ERP performance shift. So I think that's all I had. Thank you very much for listening, and very sorry about the technical difficulties that we faced the earlier portion of the presentation. Thank you very much. And I hope I was audible.
Yes, you were audible. Thank you for your presentation. And I love the fact that you have already established that competitive factor is the most important through empirical data also, because it's the most intuitive thing that we would find anybody who is implementing ERP for FMCG. A great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I don't have any question.
Thank you so much, presenter. And moving ahead to call our next presenter. To present her paper on the impact of digital text education and financial app use on text literacy and compliance intention among e-commerce SMEs in Indonesia. Okay, we can call our next presenter to present his paper on voice-enabled chess, a speech-driven approach to interactive gameplay.
Yeah,
A paper presenter is Harsh.
yeah. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please. Yes.
Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Harsh Sobhasna from Charota University of Science and Technology. Today, I will be presenting our research paper, Voice-Enabled Chess, a speech-driven approach to interactive gameplay. This work was carried out with my collegiate teammates Gia Bera, Ankola Margin, and under the guidance of my professor Nishad Sheikh. My paper ID is 573. So yeah. These are the topics that I am going to cover today. So it will be abstraction, introduction, literature review, research gap, proposed methodology, implementing design and outcomes, result and discussion, comparative analysis, conclusion, and future work with references. So yeah, let's begin with abstraction. Our project focus on combining the classical gameplay of chess with modern speech recognition technology. Instead of manual moving the piece, player can simply use voice command to play. We use the Python speech recognition library to capture speech, integrate it with chess logic, and build an AI to ensure competitive gameplay. The system was designed with three main audience in mind: chess enthusiastic looking for a new experience, individuals with disabilities for whom hand-free interaction makes the game more accessible, and technology enthusiasm interested in AI plus voice-based application. So, in short, the project blends traditional with innovative and demonstrate how individuals can be brought into digital games. Introduction: with the rises of voice assistants like Alexa, Siri, and Google Assistants, voice command has become a mainstream way of interacting with device. In gaming, voice technology is increased, being exploited to improve impression and accessibility. However, in strategic games like chess, voice integration is largely unexploited. The gap is what motivates us. Our aim was to create a system that allows player to play chess completely hand-free while keeping the game completely and enjoyable, competitive and enjoyable. Literature review. Earlier, working in voice-enabled gameplay, most focus on ACT, VR, and story-based gameplay. Some rely on complex multi-modals setup like voice gas tracking, while other need special hardware or high resources. These are not particular for actual user. We found very light research in applying voice control to strategy-based game like chess that confirm the research gap for us. Research gap. To summarize, here are the main gaps we identify. Strategy gameplay with voice input are unexploited. Many existing systems requires complex hardware, limiting accessibility. Inclusive gameplay for different ability user is often ignored. Few solution combines AI decision making with speech recognizing in a light way, user-friendly way. Our solution address these gaps. Proposed methodologies. Our methodology works in following the steps. Voice inputs, the player speak the moves. Speak recognize, the speech recognizing library converts the speech to text and validate its move. Move extension, using Python chess library, the move is checked against the chess rule. AI opponents, an AI agent that then makes its move using algorithm like Minimax with alpha beta cloning. Feedback. The updated board is displayed and audio feedback can also be given. This way, the players can control the game entirely through speech. The system also supports board customization, movie history, undo, and evolution. We even design it to adapt for mobile platform, so it's not limited to just desktop environment. This is the system design. This is how our chess looks. Result and discussion. The slide shows that implementation design, the system has three core components: GUI, which provides a user-friendly interface; speech recognition models, which listen to and process the player commands. The AI engine will respond intelligent. Together, this ensures an interactive, real-time, and accessible chess experience. We test the system within 15 university students. Each participants play the game individually, and after they rated this experience, um, easy to use, we got 4.8 ratings. Game mechanism, we got 4.7 out of 5. Engagement also, we got 4.5 out of 5. Real values, 4.3. Learning outcomes, 3.9. Free time play, 3.6 ratings. Overall, the feedback was very positive, proving that the system is usable and enjoyable. Challenges like speech accuracy and latency were migrated using optimizing model and error handling techniques, but there is still scope of reflecting. Comparative analytics. Compared to other system in voice enabled gaming, our system has three major advantage. It is lightweight and does not require special hardware. It integrates AI with speech recognition for real strategy based gameplay, and it is designed to be individual and accessible for different types of user. This make it more practical and unique that existing approach. Conclusion. To conclude, we developed a voice-enabled chess system that merges traditional chess with modern AI and speech recognition. It improves accessibility and offers a fresh engagement with the play chess. The evaluation confirms that the game is fun and easy to use. For future work, we plan to make AI more adaptive and smarter, and multiplayer functionality, both online and local. For UI UX, for better accessibility and visual appears, and add analytics to track player performance and provide insight. This will make game even more engageable and impactful. These are the references that I have used for my paper. Thank you for listening. I will be happy to take your questions.
Hi, Harsh, what is the compute requirements on Edge?
Sorry, sir.
What are the compute requirements of your TTS on the Edge? Like you said, it's compatible with the mobile.
Hello.
Could you hear me? I'm
Yeah,
saying what
yeah.
are the compute requirements on the mobile devices for this game?
For voice enabled chess system, the compute requirements are actually quite lightweight since you built it in Python with standards library.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, Harsh. Have you already built the prototype?
I have used Python chess library only for that.
Okay, so prototype is ready.
Yes.
And does it cross-check before moving uh, the chessboard items?
Yes, ma'am.
So before moving, it will cross-check with the user, like, do you want to perform this action? Something like that it would do, or it will
Yes.
do it, and if it does the wrong move, then we have to undo.
It will not allowed if it is a wrong move then.
Yeah, I mean, not the expected one. Let's say we want, like, instead of going three points, let's say they just moved it by two, like some in wrong interpretation, not the wrong move.
Okay, yeah.
So would it only undo, it will do undo, or it will cross check with user before doing any move?
No, it will undo.
Okay. Yep, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, presenter, for your presentation. And now we have completed all the presentation of the sessions, and we conclude this session. I sincerely thank our author for their excellent presentation and contribution in this session, and our participant for being a part of this international conference. I hope this session was informative enough. We, on behalf of whole team, thank you for your support during this version and the previous three version of the conference. We will be happy to have you in a fifth version of this conference in 2026. All the presenter would be getting digital certificate through email within 2 to 3 working days. The publication will be live 7 to 8 months. Kindly cooperate with the team of ISBM. And I would like to thank our chair of this session. Thank you so much,
Thank you so much.
ma'am, for being a part of this conference.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for your valuable time. And thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thanks to all the presenters for bringing us to speed with what is happening in technology.
Thank you so much. And there's a one more request. Kindly turn on the cameras for taking a quick snapshot. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am.